morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Casciato. I'm a retired captain from the San Francisco Police Department. And in retirement, I have become a consultant to the CBDs. And Christian Martin, who is your executive director, has retained me to represent you and the Ocean Avenue Association at two committees. One is the MTA Traffic Committee, which we're not going to talk about today. But, and the other one is the Chief of Police's Small Business Advisory Committee. I want to focus on that this morning, and very important. In the advisory committee, merchants and residents from various business districts throughout the city, and also we hold once a year one major conference at the Brooks Hall, or I mean at the Civic Auditoriums, excuse me, and we discuss issues that exist in the community. At last Tuesday's meeting with the Chief of Police's representative, Assistant Chief Lazar, one of the main focuses has been is the business community and is the residential community reporting on small crimes, graffiti, broken windows, vandalism. And even though the statistics show that crime is dropping, we're wondering how much unreported crime is out there. And this unreported crime is, how do we make it easy for people to report the crime? If you are a business person and you have a minor incident, either small broken window, some graffiti, some vandalism of some sort, and you say to yourself, oh, I gotta call the police, it's a laborious process, I have to wait for them to come out, make a report, I'm just not gonna do it. Well, there's a impact there. And the impact is, if there is no crime, the department doesn't know how to staff up. And the officers that are on the street cannot see patterns. If I was to take Ocean Avenue and say, one merchant on, say, up towards City College has a minor graffiti incident in the middle of the night, doesn't report it, and nothing occurs. So nobody knows about it. So then a little further down here, another incident occurs the following night, and nobody does anything about it, nobody knows about it. And then a little further down the street, another one will occur the following evening, and then another one the other evening, and nobody knows about it. So in our committee, we said, how is it and what is it that we can do to really encourage people to report the crime, besides educationally, but make it really easy for them to do that? Fortunately, on the committee, there are representatives from the community business districts. And we have the Community Business Alliance, which is citywide, the Alliance. So the Alliance has apps that are already cooked into 311. So right now, as we speak, they are discussing how to get an app that's very easy for a merchant or a resident to be able to make their report. So this is actually flowing right now, and it flowed out of that committee. So if we now go back to our Ocean Avenue example of this graffiti that's occurred, if those app reports are made, and it's going to be a check down menu, you don't have to do a whole big narrative, but a check down menu, you know, this occurred Monday night, Tuesday night, kind of a pattern. Officer Butler and the other officers from Taraval Station are going to say, oh, there's a little pattern. We're going to go out at 2 o'clock in the morning and we're going to watch. And this is our pattern. So we're watching for what's going on. So it could be a whole variety of issues, but if we don't know. From the police department's administration, and since I was in police department administration for many years, we staff up based on statistics. We also deploy based on statistics. And it makes a huge difference. And one of the examples that I like to share with you, I was captain of Mission Station. Actually, I was captain of Mission Station twice. But we had issues in the Castro, and I had a beat officer in the Castro who was very, very effective. And we had issues on Lower 24th Street, gang stuff, etc. But it's the statistics. And in the Castro, the statistics dropped tremendously over a reporting period. And I got a call from downtown that said, we're going to staff your staffing plan, but we reviewed your staffing plan and you have an officer assigned to the Castro on a beat 5 days a week. We weren't on the 10-hour day. You have him 5 days a week on the 4 to 12. We're going to take him away from you. You got to move him to Lower 24th. And I said, no, because he's, and I argued, no, please, he's stopping crime. Guess what happened? We moved him to Lower 24th, and Castro crime went right up. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I'm representing, and that's what Christian and some of the other CBD directors have asked me to do, is say, please be our voice at the chief's meeting. Please be our voice at MTA, because I also served in traffic. I was the commanding officer of the motorcycles for many years, and I served at MTA. So I see myself as a translator and also imparting institutional memory and experience and passing it on to the younger generation, because the younger generation, they're the leaders of the future. And they're also the consultants of the future. And they're basically, and this passes on. So that's what we're doing here. And that's why it's important to this community. Please watch what this CBD is doing, what Ocean Avenue Association is doing, where it's going, the development of this app. If you get this app, please be, I feel that I'm talking to the teachers of the community. Those of you who are here, those of you who will see this video, you are the teachers of the community, those who impart the information, and those who build the strength of the community. And with that being said, I'll let you chime in.
Thanks a lot, Captain. Good morning, I'm Officer Drewkai Butler at the Taraval station. I'm a footbeat officer and newly dubbed community liaison officer, so I've got some additional tasks that I do throughout the day or throughout my weekly shift. And I've been at a few of the community meetings, and what Captain Casciato has been talking about is some of the things that we've been talking about for people to start reporting, even the little stuff. That although it doesn't mean we might, find who broke your window, at least we can learn that there are window breakers in the area, and that we know where we might need to send our plainclothes teams to do special operations. Or as you let us know things are happening, we can let our operations teams know so they can do special ops to try to apprehend these people who are committing crimes throughout the neighborhood that might seem little, but are affecting lots of people. And one of the things that happens when a neighborhood gets, say, Ocean Avenue, a graffiti tag here and then a graffiti tag there, and no one reports it and the police don't know about it, the community all realizes that their situation is going downhill, but it's never translated to the statistics or the reports for us as officers to realize we need to have a special operation happen here. It's usually easier when there's a horrendous situation like we had once on West Portal, which is in our district, where overnight 3 blocks on one side and 3 blocks back the other was just decimated with graffiti. Everybody knew about it from the top to the bottom, and it was definitely reported. I was one of the people helping with the reports on that and with victim services. But it's the little things as well. So in that instance, we knew there was a situation going on because it was blaringly obvious. We did do an overnight operation with our plainclothes team, and they were able to effect an arrest and identify one of the main suspects involved in the situation. But it can also be done with the little things too. The little things that are happening. When we have rashes of somebody who's going up and down, breaking windows on Ocean Avenue, targeting specific ethnic businesses, it might not just be Ocean Avenue. So we need those reports, because we also have that same situation happening elsewhere. And when we get video footage, we start to realize we have the same suspect who has a beef with somebody or an ideology that's causing him or her to do what they're doing. And through the reports coming out, it just helps us get a lot more information, go after a lot more video footage, a lot more ways to catch these criminals who are committing crimes, and bring some relief to the victims as well. So I definitely want to say that's something that we are definitely pushing in our community meetings, that the ones that I'm attending, to make sure that people know, even if it's a small crime, please report it. Please report it. And some crimes can be reported if you didn't see who did it. You wake up and somebody's broken your garage door window, but nobody broke into your house. You can call 311. 311 can take your report. You can go on to sanfranciscopolice.org and file a report online. That way you're not waiting for an officer to come by. Just because with our staffing levels as they are today, cold reports, what we call a cold report, where there's no injury to anyone, an item may have been damaged, or a porch package may have been stolen, it might take us a while before we triage through our A priority runs in the day, or our B priorities where there's an alarm going off or somebody's in the middle of a fight, before we get to your report of something that's happened but doesn't have a loss of life or a great injury attached to it. So to avoid having to wait for some of that, we can still get all this reporting done, going onto your computers and uploading the things. But what my hope is, now that we're in 2024 and flaming on to 2025, is that we will have an app to where this is a simple thing for especially merchants or even homeowners to be able to report simple crimes. So I'm very encouraged to hear that at the administrative end of things, making things easier for most people to do something like this on your phone, where you normally take your pictures. It shouldn't be too difficult to come up with the concept of how to take a photo, how to upload it from your phone, how to auto-populate this happened at this address, at this time, on this date, and here's a brief summary of what happened, and have that uploaded, and you have your police report number, and where you can be aware of the statistics. And those that merit follow-up or an officer coming to a scene can be routed to us. So I'm very encouraged to hear that such things are in development.
I want to also point out, and I want to bring Roland up here, that's why we have this empty chair. As our ambassador out on the street, he is going out, and he is the foot soldier on the street for graffiti, for the cleanup, and for observation. He's doing that. But him and Ray, our other ambassador over here, they're far and few between, as are the officers, far and few between. We're at the lowest staffing level in patrol than we ever been. I have all the statistics in my pocket from Chief Lazar. But this, and I would like Roland to tell us a little bit about his day and what him and Ray are going to be doing as they go out, because this is the importance of the CBD. This is where really the rubber meets the road. So.
Yes, Roland Lee, you have to excuse me, I had the flu. Yes, I've been working for the CBDs now for 4 years. I work at another CBD, I won't mention their name at the time, but we go around and we look out for homeless people, and I attend to them. I don't push them away or anything like that. I try to work with them and find out if they need anything. So, and if I can help them, I do so. But I do walkthroughs here and business counts, and I take and assess counts of graffiti, things that need to be taken care of as far as paint jobs and whatnot. And so far, I ran into some people at the El Rey. And I have some pictures I wanted to show you, Officer Butler. A guy took some pictures of the guys who've been doing graffiti at the El Rey Theater. So I got pictures of that on a computer. So hopefully we can get that taken care of, but it's a day-to-day process. Every day is not the same. But so far with this type of, people are looking out for each other around here. I see that, and it helps me to help them. And hopefully we can get things better. I know we can kind of use a hot team out here. That would really help us as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about when you observe graffiti, what you can and cannot do regarding the graffiti abatement?
Well, first and foremost, if it's over a mural, then I wait, because I know that's a special deal with murals. So whoever's the owner of the building or whatnot, I talk to them about it, and most of the time they can get someone out to take care of that mural. But any regular paint job or graffiti, I look at the material now that these new graffiti guys are doing, and they're using paint, not just regular pens, so it makes things harder. So, but now that we have a new worker here, Ray, he's a painter from an old job we used to work at. He knows exactly what's needed. And because we were doing just quick paint jobs and painting over stuff when we need primer, and he's taking care of that, so we'll have a more efficient job completed.
Ray, could you come into the camera focus so we could introduce you, or you could introduce yourself to?
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Ray, and well, I just started, but I've been in the business of industrial painting, and basically I'm just trying to keep busy. So for me, this is a new experience dealing with businesses and graffiti stuff, but nothing special. So whatever needs to be taken care of, I'll try to do the best I can, and So, but as far as that, yeah, I see some spray painting on windows or graffiti or whatever. So you gotta basically not just put paint, because paint is so transparent. So you gotta prime it, wait a while, and come back and use the type of paint that the business or whatever is needed. If it's on a window, we'll try to scrape it off or clean it with chemicals or whatever. So, it all depends on what type of stuff we're dealing with. So, but at the same time, we'll try to be as efficient as possible, and hopefully we get it done sooner than later. So, and business will be happier around here, and the people around us. Okay.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Ray. At this time, is there any questions you want to?
Yeah, I was going to say, we could open the floor up to questions and discussion. I have a few questions myself, but I'd like to ask the attendees first.
Sure.
Go ahead, please.
I've got a couple of comments right now. First of all, is regarding what Captain and Officer Butler were saying, it's important to report the crimes, because if you don't do that, then you're going to perpetuate the issue to be chased to tail. And and like Officer Butler says, you can't be putting out the fires. You chasing fires. You got to put them out. And so I'm encouraging that the OAA have on their website or wherever distribute information not only to the merchants but also to the surrounding neighbors, that they need to report this issue, because even though things happen here on Ocean Avenue, they're still going to affect and occur in other places. So the more information that the police department has to be able to identify individuals or trends or whatever, not only on Ocean Avenue but in the neighborhood, you can reduce the incidence of vandalism and crime and whatever. So I think it's important that the OAA just do the outreach not only to the merchants but also to the neighborhoods as well. And I think you get a positive response on that. Second thing is that when I was working at school district, we worked with the police department when there was graffiti at the schools. My painters would go and we would take pictures and then paint out the graffiti, but provide that information to the graffiti detail. And what they would do is put it into their database along with the cost. So that, you know, there's a whole range of data that's available to the police department, so when they do find somebody, or can identify individuals who have trends and patterns of doing this stuff, you know, now there's more direct police action you can take and legal action you can take on them. So I recommend that when you do, you know, take the pictures, but also record some of the costs that are involved with that. That helps a lot, I believe.
Thank you. That's actually very common. And I know just not too long ago, we successfully integrated our cases with 311, or 311, and then, you know, when 311 has reports for this area, our ambassadors will receive those notifications directly. So we're hoping we could give out more detailed reports on each specific task, and, you know, just, it's a good suggestion, thank you.
Yeah. Just like looking at it from a broad-based approach, you know, where, you know, you start, you don't tackle a microcosm, each case, do the umbrella, and that reduces the incidence.
As Officer Butler said, you know, no crime is too small, and each detail, each information is very important.
You got a question, Mike? So on the topic of no crime is too small and lack of actual police officers doing work, the app is a great idea. We've had 311 as an app for a long time to report certain things. However, with a lack of officers on duty, inundating that app with things that don't really matter, that are not going to get responded to, is just a waste of everybody's time. Uh-oh was right. So on February the 25th at approximately 10:30 in the morning, I had 3 ladies working in my store right across the street. If I called Roland, he would have responded. Unfortunately, my ladies didn't know that 311 was the proper method to call. So they called 911, which, you know, they're lifelong San Francisco residents. They had no idea that 311 was where to go. So in calling 911, they were transferred to a phone number. That phone number was an answering machine. Here's what happened. There was a person who walked in the door with a hood on. That person went behind an area that was just for employees only and locked themselves in a room and proceeded to beat the heck out of my wall, out of my toilet, out of my sink, make all kinds of screaming noise, all kinds of everything. And these 3 ladies were completely beside themselves, not sure what to do. Luckily, they're smart enough to call me because I'm 2 blocks away. And my response time is better than SFPD's response time. Now, my thing is if, by the way, I'm still waiting on a response from SFPD to come check to see if there's a crazy person in my bathroom. Nobody's called us, nobody's checked on us, nobody's anything. When do we get our beat cop back full-time, the way that it's supposed to be? Because when he's on the street, we actually feel protected and crime does go down, just like you said. We have a relationship with Officer Butler. You want to talk about what's wrong with San Francisco and the reason that small businesses are leaving, we're not freaking protected. We're getting beat up every single day and we don't have anybody to help us get through this. Sometimes it's just an ear to talk to. Sometimes Officer Butler can diffuse my tension or anybody else's tension with just a conversation, but you know what? He can't have that when he's moved from the Taraval district to other districts to cover what is a San Francisco city political problem, and that's proper policing. And that's why, like, I'm still waiting on a response. I'm still waiting on the police department to come to my door and ask me if everything's okay. Those 3 ladies are terrified to come to work. And those ladies have now told me that they will not work unless there's somebody else in the building besides them. It's brutal. What can we do with this? What good is that app going to actually do when it's inundated with useless calls about graffiti, about my package was stolen? Like, we're talking people's lives are at risk and you're not responding. And that cannot keep happening. And that's why I think you saw some of what you saw in the election last time around. We're tired of playing.
You want to respond?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I respond. Actually, I can bifurcate it. If
Well, as your footman, you know I'm gonna be chatting with you afterwards for sure. To figure out this February 25th incident that happened at 10:30. I'll be able to find out what cab run that was and get to where we're going. And get to where, you know, we do the proper police thing. But besides just that, I'll need to find out what the breakdown is to make sure that we're not having that, because that sounds like there's a problem bigger than somebody has tagged on my wall. That sounds like there's somebody's life, whether even it's the person in the room who's locked in. I don't know what they're doing. It sounds like somebody could be breaking their own neck on your property. So I definitely want to do more than just, you know, lip service on this one. This is going to take a bit of stuff to find.
And what I will do is I will bring it to the Chiefs Advisory Committee, the example, and you'll provide me with more detail on it.
Yeah.
And I'll bring it up there, and that's on behalf of the OAA.
To your point and to the neighborhood's point, a full-time beat officer all the time, I think is definitely going to be great to see that staffing come, because it makes a huge difference in the area when I have a full day of just being on Ocean, not put into a vehicle to answer other calls, because we've run out of officers to answer the calls that are coming in to other places where somebody's going crazy in my room and I don't even know who they are, that I just walked into my house and someone's, you know, destroying it. So definitely the staffing issue will help to push where we have footbeats back out here again.
And from my point of view is that if I was still in the police department and commanding a station, my desire would be to have 2 beat officers assigned, in this case, Ocean Avenue, because I would like to have 7-day coverage.
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
Drewkai doesn't need time off.
Well, no, because that's the way you have time off. That's how you have time off. And some days you might get an overlap with 2 guys. But anyway, more questions?
Thank you, Mike, thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
Any questions from attendees?
Yeah, I got a little comment from that too. Is my experience is that, you know, there are two elements. There's immediate response, and then there's crime prevention.
Sure.
Obviously, it's a scale. You have crime prevention, you reduce the incidence. You don't have crime prevention, you increase the incidence. And so the idea of the matter is if you can get more knowledge and information out there so that the officers can go and develop a pattern, okay, and find individuals perhaps like that before they come into your store and cause havoc, then that's the thing. So you gotta, you know, in the OA's viewpoint, you gotta continually balance the two to make it work. So that's the trick for you guys. But still, by the same token, broadcasting to everybody, you know, what they can do. I think we'll do 2 things. Number one is provide the information so officers can do their job to prevent crime. And then also, too, is to give the homeowners and the merchants that are around the neighborhood a little bit more sense of security and awareness, and quite frankly, you know, joint cooperation, as opposed to being, well, nobody's going to do anything. I'm not going to, you know, call. So I think those are the 2 things that the OA can take the lead on, I believe, in this exercise.
And another thing the CBD Alliance is doing is Ocean Avenue is in line for cameras. So looking at the cameras, so we'll see where it comes. You had a question?
And a comment. Al and I belong on the Taraval CPAP, Community Advisory Board. So Mike, you ever want me to take something to the captain? We report what we see, but I live between Grafton and Holloway, so I tend to go down those streets rather than Ocean. But when we see like graffiti, we let the captain know there's a problem. All the people turning on beeps when they're not supposed to turn left. We tell them about it, whatever but if you email me or something, we we used to meet the second Thursday, but now, because he's in the reserves, and we're having to change meetings, we've gone to the third Wednesday. But we tell him whatever we see or whatever we hear, so that he can, like, do passing calls, or he can, you know, make assignments based on whatever is going on. So please feel free, you have my email. You should-
My question is, do you think these streetlights that they strung up and down these commercial corridors help crime prevention?
I think any lighting, from my perspective, any lighting is good lighting. Okay, and it's just for, one, there's two different things. The first thing is, lighting is an aesthetic. So it kind of gives you a little bit nicer view and it affects personality. But also it gives you vision. And it's also going to help with the cameras. The cameras need that little extra light, so that is going to be a thing. Any comment on cameras from your perspective?
Yeah, cameras are great to have. The more cameras we can have, even just from the private side, meaning the store owners themselves, help out. A lot of times we'll have the crime that happens at a store where they already have on their mask and they already have on their hood and they already have on their gloves. What we also see when we have some good camera canvassing is we have them, as they're walking up the street, getting ready to think about putting on their mask, getting ready to think about putting on their hood, but that's 5 stores down where no crime happened. So the more cameras that we can have that are in storefronts, facing the streets, et cetera, watching your doorways, helps us out. And it helped us out on one of the capers on dealing with somebody who was just wreaking havoc, breaking windows up and down, using a little electric, scooter thing. We had some poor footage of at the place, but down the road, we started to get some better and better footage, and we're able to tie that person to the crimes that they were committing.
What's gonna happen now with SF Safe being gone? Because they were supposed to be putting cameras in.
Right, so SF Safe is not in a partnership with us any longer.
No, I know that.
I could probably
So,
speak to that a little bit.
I know, I'm aware of that and everything, but I'm hoping that maybe some other more investigative
There is,
nonprofit will
I can speak.
get the job, because
Yeah, from the officers, and we're told to stand by.
Yeah, I can speak to
He
that.
might have more back end. We're told from the officer perspective, we were sent an email out, even with Prop E and all the things that Prop E will bring. We're told, we saw these things come, but stand by. There's a process we have to work through. So that's what we know as officers.
Yeah.
But from the back end,
Yeah. What was reported out to us last week at the committee is that there are 5 ambassadors that have been assigned to take over the backlog of SF Safe to try to kind of figure out what's in the files, the phone calls, the names, the process, et cetera. Also Sergeant Matthias from Central Station, just retiring. They're going to keep him on part-time. He's one of the certified community development type officers that participate in the department, and he's being assigned over there to try to sort out what was going on and what, et cetera. The chief of police, the camera systems needed to be accessed. So the vendor, he has taken the camera systems over. There's a nonprofit that's a private nonprofit that not receiving city funds, who is being discussed whether or not they're going to assist the vendor and but the vendor is owed the money for the cameras. So, but he is providing access to the film footage. So there is quite a bit going on, and it is a huge lift. And it's terrible, but it's a huge lift. Yeah, what's that? Okay, wait a minute,
Well, I was just gonna say, because at the captain's community meeting, there were people there that were trying to form a block club.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do now,
Yeah.
and then there was the Felicia's wife who did the check.
Yeah,
And so there's other needs besides cameras.
Yeah.
That people are concerned about it, and they don't know.
Well, actually, Christian sent me to
Okay.
a meeting and asked me to attend a meeting to listen. And you have a whole bunch of people who did not receive their paychecks.
I know,
On top of that, they lost their health insurance.
and she needs to go to jail, I'm sorry. That's outrageous, what would?
Yeah, and then the vendor issues, and then just, yeah, but that's where we're at. Did you have a question or a comment?
I have two questions.
Okay, then Rosendo will finish us off
So I
here.
was gonna ask you, are there any specific areas of focus in the Ingleside or Ocean Avenue or Westfield area that folks should be aware of? And I also want to ask you, what neighborhood watch programs or initiatives can folks be involved in or create at this moment that can help combat crime in the area?
All right, the first one I'll say to be aware of or to just have on your radar is most of the crime in the Taraval and the Ingleside area here, or covered by us, is going down, but we are seeing a slight uptick in burglaries and vehicle thefts. Not the vehicle break-ins, but the vehicle thefts. So that's something that's come onto our radar.
To clarify, you're saying they're stealing cars, they're not.
Right, not the breaking in, but we're seeing a slight uptick this year over last year on vehicles being stolen. These seem to go in waves in terms of what the hot thing is. Once a particular vehicle brand is identified as easy to steal, then we start to notice that that gets hit, or a particular technique makes a particular range of vehicles easier. But it's not just one random person, there's usually a group. And our plainclothes units, once we start to identify that's happening, they've already started to put together different operations, and we're having some successful interventions and apprehensions out there, which disrupts the rings, and then we'll see stats start to go back down again. And then it was a slight uptick in home burglaries as well, but they weren't of a violent nature. The main culprit was garage break-ins, where people are drilling a little hole, using some type of car antenna that's bent into a hook to pull the latch, the safety latch, or the manual latch, and then lift up the garage. So we're encouraging people to use a physical lock on your garage at night when you go to sleep. And they do sell, apparently on the internet, electronic devices that can lock your garage for you. So once you're outside of your house, you can still press it and it locks it and makes your garage, you can't just lift it up. So that's more of a strong deterrent from letting people get into your home. So that's some of the things that we've seen out here. But other than that, we've seen a lot of things. The rest of the crimes are starting to trend downward, which is always, we prefer to see that all the time. The other one I would say is I've been to a couple of community meetings recently now, and what I would suggest are people just taking care of their own block in terms of coming together for setting up community watches. I'll give you one example. On 11th Avenue, I met with one block, and all they did was have coffee in the morning outside. They advertised it was going to be coffee and donuts, just get to meet your neighbors. It was just for that one block. And they probably had about 23 to 25 people come out, and they just exchanged phone numbers with each other or emails with each other to put each other on a list, actually get to see who their neighbor is. And that just, and for some of them, their neighbor was 2 houses down and they've never met them before for 5 years on the block. But just doing that little bit really helps to change. And if that's something that can be sustained on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis, if they want to get really aggressive with it, or even every half a year, just posting just a little something on your neighborhood, just to have people come together and just reconnect. Some people came by and stayed for the whole time that they were there, for about an hour, hour and a half. And some people just breezed in for about 5 and 10 minutes, just to greet everyone, let them know, hey, sorry my day's busy today, but just wanted to meet everybody. I live in this house over there, the White House with the red trim on it. And that is something that can really be done by every block in the city. And it's encouraging to see districts in the Taraval start to take this up, just one block at a time. Without much fanfare, just getting to know the people on your block. And I really believe it helps when you get to do that in this city, because it's an easy city to not know who lives in that house right next to you. And as to speaking to Mike, the closest person to you is anybody on your block. not SFPD.
Yeah.
I wish we were, but the reality is we come after it's happened and usually after they've left.
Yeah.
By the time, yeah, like just to Mike's story. And it's not what we wish, it's not how we wish we had if we had an officer for every block, fantastic. But that's not realistic, it's not how our city runs. We don't want a police state where you have armed officers standing on every block. That's not what, you know, we're not there. But we do see that your neighbor is going to be your closest person. Even if you're not home, they're the closest ones to call, that there's a car in the garage, we've never seen it, there's 3 people hooded up, I know Joe does not know these people, please at least send somebody.
I tell my neighbor to let me know when you're on vacation.
Right, that.
What's going on.
Just that.
Goes a long way.
So if we do that,
Take care of each other.
if we get to meet our neighbors,
Yes,
and let's say the neighbors want to form a neighborhood watch,
yes.
are there resources available to help us guide us in that method?
That's
My
the,
questions.
yeah. That's one of the
Okay.
issues that's being discussed, because that's what San Francisco Safe, the Safe Road is supposed to do. And that's what is actually in the big discussions. And not only is this suspicious things, it's also a personal thing. Last night, neighbor texted and said, hey, you left your garage door open. Okay, you put it down, you know, and it's nice to have, especially you have the text ability to text your neighbor next door, and so I have all my neighbors text,
Yeah.
and that's what you do. But I really want to emphasize that we're communicating, and there's several avenues of communications, and really crime prevention comes down to us, ourselves, and in our own neighborhood. So everything else is a resource, is separate. And we're not going to see a fully staffed police department for quite a number of years. They're experimenting with the reserve program. They're talking about the patrol special program, beefing that up. You remember them from the days. You know, the cameras, now that Proposition E passed, we can talk about drones. It's amazing, the departments that have drones, that, you know, you get a phone call and the drone is up, arriving before the police officers, spotting stuff. Beverly Hills is using it already. Now laser tagging a car. Oops, yeah. Laser tagging a car so that officers can follow it without having to chase it right behind it. You know, so AI, technology, everything, what we're talking about today, in 2 to 3 years, is going to seem like ancient history. And what the development I saw from when I came in, and now I'm seeing in retirement, what Officer Butler has seen and what he will see is just amazing. He'll be sitting in some group 30 years from now, and he'll be talking as I am, and he'll say, I can't believe what I saw in the transition that has taken place. Yeah, and what we've seen in our own lifetime, because I know quite a number of us in here preceded television. So.
Not married.
I can count 4 of us, but that's, and the community, the difference in community, and our community churns at all times. And we have all different types of people churning here, and it will. But I'm very optimistic on San Francisco. I'm very optimistic in the neighborhoods. I believe the neighborhoods have a better chance of thriving than downtown. Downtown has to reimagine it. Actually, downtown has to become a neighborhood. That's what it has to become. So,
One more question.
yes.
With all the merchants don't know if you have to aware of these ambassadors.
I would
Yes.
say,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, well, maybe you
But-
could explain a little bit about what you do and how you do the business checks.
Yeah.
Well, when I do the business checks, I look in the store, make sure everything is okay, get eye contact with the owners, and then I hit a button on my phone, on my geophone, and then checks that out as far as a business check.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I introduced myself and told the merchants who I was and what we do here, so.
I think one of the other aspects that needs to maybe happen in that process, Roland, that would maybe help, such as my ladies, 911 doesn't work in the city. Like,
Yeah.
they need to be aware of how to actually get in touch with somebody when they need somebody.
They can call.
Oh, I know, your response time is great.
It's commute time, it's all this, I like it.
To see what I did when I worked on Ocean Ave, was I went into every business with a flyer saying who I was and what I was doing, and it was in 3 or 4 different languages with proper information.
Yeah.
And I know everybody that's running a business on there has that flyer in their language with a number they can call. And they knew who I was. And you know what, it's been years and years, I still see people doing the review, they go, I remember you. You used to pass out the little red envelopes. Are you still doing that?
That's a good suggestion, so we'll get to that. I think we have time for one last question, and, really? Okay, I'll ask it then. It's for Officer Butler here.
Yes.
It might be a little bit too specific, but are there any resources available or measures recommended to support Asian businesses who have or may deal with harassment or hostile individuals?
Yes. Yes. The answer is yes. And I would have to find out which other resources other than police would be the ones that would support them.
You mean resources as in like nonprofits,
Yes,
assistance?
yes, because I know we have a few out there. But to make sure that it's business specific rather than more on the personal side, I would have to get the accurate information for you.
Okay.
But any business that's being targeted, especially based on ethnicity, with the angle of it being a hate crime, that should absolutely be reported to us.
Yes. Okay.
I will give you an example.
Yeah.
On San Jose Avenue, there was cleaners, monolingual, and they were having an issue with the city. It wasn't a police issue, but it was an issue with the city regarding permits and stuff. And there was no Asian representative organization out here that we could refer them to. So we referred them to, and this is through the Chiefs Committee, we referred them to the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, and they assisted them. So they came out and assisted them and got them going and assisted. So there's a variety of, and Betty Louie from the Chamber of Commerce, she's on our advisory board panel also, you know, Betty, and she's gonna find out the right answer, you know? But again, it's a matter of communications, and it's a matter of just asking, and how do you ask? And someplace there's an answer, but it might take a while to find it.
Thank you.
Okay.
I can email you the answer once I find out.
Thank you. Do folks have any other questions? Well, with that being Al, Officer Butler, thank you so much for
Thank you.
and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you for spending your mornings with us.